Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're coming back to this talk by Orson Pratt. It's about the gathering of Israel. This is the one where originally I was coming to look for information about the 10 lost tribes, but I was sidetracked because I found a fascinating account of the three Nephites appearing to Native Americans in their dreams, and then the Native Americans traveling for hundreds of miles because they were instructed to do so, to go get baptized. Which thing I had never heard before, so I had to instantly do a video about it. But now we're getting back on track, and what I want to do a new tracker. I think it's good to put things down on paper or on spreadsheets in this case. And I'm aware of a number of different talks and quotes and things like that that have to do with the 10 lost tribes. And I want to track it because there is conflicting information. What I've noticed, okay, overall, is that in the earlier church, there were people that spoke about one main body of the 10 lost tribes that are hidden to the world. And there's all sorts of theories about where they are. But in more recent times, it seems, they're talking more about the idea that they're simply lost to the world. They're lost to themselves. They've forgotten their identity, and they primarily went to the countries north of Israel, or in other words, into Europe. Okay, so I'm going to do this tracker. I'm going to put the talk under the reference column, the name of the talk and who said it. Then I'm going to do a check where they're supporting the Europe idea, that they're just primarily in Europe, or the hidden group column over here, the first column. And if it is the hidden group, I'm going to put where the talk suggested that they were. And I think most of them believe in the polar regions because, countries in the north. But we'll just do it. Now, I'm going to have all the years all the way back to 1820, just so we can get a really good feel for how much time really has gone by in between different talks. And then maybe over here, I'll do a simplified version where it just has them all right in a row, so we can see them all at the same time easily. So the two different views. Okay. So this talk, this is Orson Pratt. Let's take a look and see when it was given. It says, Discourse by Elder Orson Pratt, delivered in the New Tabernacle, Salt Lake City, Sunday morning, April 11th, 1875. Okay. 1875. Let's see, Gathering of Israel, the work. I don't know if it's going to copy the way. Oh, wait, I know what to do. Okay, so 1875. So we'll go all the way down here. Okay, we'll put this in the reference column. We will paste values only because we don't want it. We want everything to look uniform. And I can already tell you, well, let's just save it for after I read it. Okay. Well, I should also, maybe in a separate column, I'll put like the speaker. Let's see, speaker. We'll make, not like that. Oh, I see what happened. Okay. Okay, sorry. Put speaker up here. And then we'll make this column a lot shorter or less wide. Come back down to 1875. And then we'll put Orson Pratt. And I think I'm going to make it so it's in the middle like that, so it looks nice. Okay, we'll do it like that. Okay, so who's Orson Pratt? Just really quick. Orson Pratt, this is the Joseph Smith Papers, ordained a member of the Quorum of the 12 by David Whitmer and Oliver Cowdery, the 26th of April, 1835. Okay, so this is just, this is after he became an apostle, so he's an apostle at the time. Just a few other things. I didn't know this. It says, it was also Brother Pratt who undertook the enormous task of dividing both the Book of Mormon and the Doctrine and Covenants into chapters and verses, and of supplying the extensive cross references. I'm assuming that's probably some of the older cross references. I don't know if some of those have carried over because I know that that project was done again. President Monson, and who else? Bruce Armour Conkey. I think Boyd K. Packer was also involved in that. Okay, and then continuing on, because of Elder Pratt's impressive powers as a public speaker, Brigham Young often relied on him to handle difficult assignments, such as the 1852 announcement to the church and the world of the doctrine of plural marriage, and a nationally publicized debate on the same subject with Reverend John P. Newman, chaplain of the United States Senate. So Brigham Young was like, "Oh, hey, Brother Pat, could you take this one?" So, okay, let's go down. Okay, this is the part that I highlighted about the three Nephites, and then the part that we're going to read is toward the end of the talk. Okay. There isn't really anything up here talking about the 10 lost tribes. I highlighted everything that has to do with the 10 lost tribes, so don't worry, okay, with how this is starting out. Okay, how long will they who come from the north countries tarry in the heights of Zion? Some time. They have got to raise wheat, cultivate the grape, wine and oil, raise flocks and herds, and their souls will have to become as a watered garden. They will dwell in Zion a good while, and during that time, there will be 12,000 chosen out of each of these 10 tribes, besides 12,000 that will be chosen from Judah, Joseph, and the remaining tribes. 144,000 in all. Chosen for what? Now, of course, this is talking about the 144,000 in the book of Revelation. I have a playlist about that, okay, because even though with what he's saying here, just to introduce the way that I look at this, I think some of these more fringe topics, they're important, but I don't think that early in the church they fully understood some of these doctrines that weren't so pertinent at the time. It was more pertinent to understand things like sealing and covenants and baptism and things that have to do with salvation, okay? And it's okay that I think that way, and it's okay if you think the other way. Let's just respect each other. But I think that some of these things maybe weren't fully understood at that time. Go see my playlist called The 144,000. Chosen for what? To be sealed in their foreheads. For what purpose? So that the power of death and pestilence and plague that will go forth in those days, sweeping over the nations of the earth, will have now no power over them. These parties, who are sealed in their foreheads, will go forth among all people, nations, and tongues, and gather up and hunt out the house of Israel, whether they are scattered, and bring as many as they possibly can into the church of the firstborn, preparatory to the great day of the coming of the Lord. Okay, so essentially, with what he's presenting here and his understanding is that literally 12,000 out of each tribe, they'll be sealed so that they can. It almost sounds as though he's saying that they would be like almost like a translated state, similar to the three Nephites, John the Revelator, so that they can withstand. Just like it said, pestilences, disease, and stuff, so that they can go. I've heard people in the comments say, right now what we're doing is we're doing the fishing for the souls of men, and then what they are going to do is the hunting. They're actually going to go to the hard places to go to. I don't agree with that. It's okay if you do, and it's okay if I disagree, because I have reasons for believing what I do. You have reasons for believing what you do. I have an entire freaking playlist about why I believe the way that I do, and I'm sure that you have all your sources. So anyway, so he continues, 144,000 missionaries, quite a host. All this has got to take place. There are persons, now see, here's something right here. There are persons in this congregation who will be in the midst of Zion when the 10 tribes come to Zion from the north countries, and will assist in bestowing the blessings promised by the Almighty upon the heads of the tribes of Israel. Okay, now, as we know, that has not happened. Or if it has happened, I'm not aware of anyone that is aware of it, or we don't have the record of that happening. Okay. Unless it was like a really small group and um, it was more on the down low and there aren't really good records of it. I find that unlikely. Or, okay, so here are the options. Either they did come from the North Countries within the lifetime of these people that Orson Pratt is talking to. Again, this is in 1875. So anyone that would have been alive at that time, even infants, they're dead by now. Okay, so either it did literally happen, there was a group that came, and we just don't have that account, which maybe that's possible. I find it very, very improbable, but maybe. Or he was right about the 10 lost tribes coming, but it's my theory where they've primarily come in the early days of the church from Europe. A lot of them have come from the United Kingdom, but other places in Europe, there's a lot of Dutch, Scandinavian, German, excuse me, early saints. Okay. So it could be that he was right. Maybe he didn't fully understand, but they actually did come and they did receive their blessings and their endowments. Okay. Or he's just completely wrong about this. Which is also a possibility. I tend to think that it's kind of the middle thing. I think maybe he was inspired to know that the gathering, this specific gathering, would be happening within their lifetime. But I think maybe he just didn't realize that it wasn't a singular hidden group. But anyway, yeah, you have to stop and think about this, because if he was wrong about this, then he might be wrong with some of his other interpretations. That's all I'm saying. So my mind is open, but I tend to lean toward just that they're coming mostly from Europe, especially in light. If I have a playlist where I go over the different devotionals, and I took the notes down for the European devotional, and the way that President Nelson was talking, it really did seem like there's a lot of Israel in Europe. I know some of you will probably be like, well, yeah, there is, because that's where the main group went, but there's still a main group. Well, I'm just going to go over this information. I'm going to put it all on the chart, and then you can just make up your own mind. But let's continue. There are servants of God in the midst of this congregation who will lay their hands upon many of which of these 12,000 chosen out of the 10 tribes and set them apart as missionaries to visit the nations of the earth and hunt up the remnants of the seed of Jacob. Okay, so he talks about how they're going to come receive their blessings, their endowments, and then also how they're going to be selected to be part of the 144,000. If you watch my playlist, we have accounts in the Journal of Discourses where it says that the selection process had already begun. There's also an account that I found in it was on BYU, and it was a record of someone who I can't remember because it's already I think he said that he was selected to be one of the 144,000 when he received his patriarchal blessing. And by the way, with the 144,000, with my view and my understanding, with everything that I've looked at, it seems like it's not so much missionaries as it is people that are just engaged in the work of bringing people to the Church of the Firstborn, namely temple workers. You could also include, I think, temple presidents and missionaries who will later become high priests, but just people that are bringing people into the Church of the Firstborn via covenants and missionary work, temple covenants. Okay. Having spoken concerning the gathering of the 10 tribes, I will refer again to their prophets. Quote, this is okay. DNC 133:26. Their prophets shall hear his voice. Do not think that we are the only people who will have prophets. God is determined to raise up prophets among the people, but he will not bestow upon them all the fullness of the blessings of the priesthood. Now, it's interesting because after reading this talk by Orson Pratt, that led me on a tangent where I started looking into the three Nephites. In the last video, well, 2 videos ago, we talked about the Seneca prophet, and I found more information about him. He's a Native American from the Seneca, which are part of the Iroquois. He had visions of 3 men. We don't know if they were the 3 Nephites. We don't even know if it's a true story. I tend to kind of think it is. But just like Muhammad and other people, we know that the Lord does give light to the nations and prepares them in their own way. I think that happened with the Seneca. The guy's name was Handsome Lake. That's his name. It's like an Indian name. So, and I've talked about before, I have a playlist called The 10 Lost Tribes, where we explore many, many different groups claiming to be descended from the 10 Lost Tribes. We've looked at a couple different groups in India. We've looked at one. So we have the Cochins down here. We have the B'nai Manasseh over here. We have the Pashtuns in Afghanistan. We have the Ethiopian Jews. There's also the, what are they called? The Lemba, which they've actually done DNA studies on the Lemba people in Africa. And they share the similarity with the Kohanim, which are the priests that are descended from Aaron. Like modern day Kohan. So first they did a DNA test on the Kohanim and found that they do share a shared patriarchal line back to one man. In that same group, that group shares the same DNA as the Lemba people down here in Africa. We've looked at the Igbos in Nigeria. We've looked at British Israelism, and I haven't completed all the different groups, but I think one thing that we have to understand when we're talking about their prophets, and this is going to be like a broken record for some of you, is that history goes back really far. Okay. The 10 lost tribes, they have been out of the land of Israel since about 721 BC. Okay. So 700 years go by, and then Christ comes, and then 600 more years go by, and then Islam is on the scene, and it starts conquering this entire area. And I think that because of Islam, some of these peoples have lost their identity, like the Pashtuns, which they still observe portions or aspects of Jewish law, and they still have traditions that they even say that they're descended from Israel, even though they're Muslims. So you have to think that this group over here, who knows how long they had been there, possibly since 500 BC, and then maintained their identity for a while, had prophets, had scripture, and then around 600 to 700 to 800 AD, Islam comes and wipes them out and assimilates them. Those that don't convert are put to death. They have to hide their scriptures. Their prophets are probably killed. And that could be the case with any number of these different groups, whether it's over here because of Islam, or whether it's over here in Europe and it's because of the Catholic Church, who was the dominant religious power during that time that we're talking about. So when it comes to their prophets, their scripture, I do think it's out there. I don't tend to think that they have any living prophets. I think that they've all become lost, but that we will have their prophets as far as their scriptures, the scriptures that their prophets have written. And when you read the Book of Mormon, it talks about how, well, not just the Book of Mormon, but some other scriptures. It talks about how all things are going to be revealed, things that are in the heaven, things that are in the earth. Think about the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's probably other scriptures somewhere across the place of the planet that just haven't made their appearance yet. But think about the Lost Sea Scrolls. Think about up here in America where we had the gold plates over here that were buried. So I I don't doubt that there are scriptures, but I think that they just haven't come forth yet. But I don't think that they're going to come from a living group that's like one main group. Anyway, that's enough of that. Enough of that. Okay. The fullness will be reserved to be given to them after they come to Zion, but prophets will be among them while in the north, and a portion of the priesthood will be there, and John the Revelator will be there, teaching, instructing, and preparing them for this great work. Again, if John the Revelator works the same way that the three Nephites do, where he appears in visions, dreams, stuff like that, I have no doubt that he's been operating among different groups in the same way. Maybe not bringing them to the fullness of the gospel, but there's been trends within last several decades with, for example, the Messianic Jews or Muslims that are having dreams and then converting to Christianity, just taking baby steps, gradual, right? And so I think for sure that throughout, I mean, since his life, that when he would have died, from that time all the way till now, he's probably been operating in Europe and appearing to people, having an influence, spreading good, preparing mostly those in Europe, or in other words, the northern countries, to maybe receive Christianity, right? The spread of Christianity through Europe and the success that it's had there. Maybe he's had an influence with the Reformation and things like that. And again, these would be the northern tribes that have mixed in with the Gentiles in the north. So anyway, all right, let's continue. Okay, to him were given the keys of the gathering of Israel at the time when he ate that little book while on the Isle of Patmos. Which I don't really get that, because I'm pretty sure that Moses was the one that had the keys for the gathering of Israel. But anyway, at that time, John was a very old man, but the Lord told him that he must yet prophesy before many kingdoms and nations and peoples and tongues, and he has got that mission to perform. And in the last days, the spirit and power of Elias will attend his administrations among these 10 tribes, and will assist in preparing them to return to this land. Whether missionaries will be sent from Zion to hunt up these dispersed tribes in the north, I do not know. But one thing I do know, from that which is reported by those who have tried to find a passage to the pole, there is a warmer country off there, and that birds of passage go north to find a warmer climate. Okay, now he's starting to talk about geography. He says that I know from the writings of intelligent men who have been on voyages of discovery, and I know furthermore that they have crossed by means of dogs and sledges a certain portion of this great band of ice, and have come to an open sea, which proves that there is a warmer country further north. So I'm assuming that he's, now I don't know who he's referring to. I'm assuming maybe he's talking about explorers that have come up here through Canada, maybe explored Greenland, or maybe on the other side of the world. I don't know. But as you can see up here, the North Pole, it's open sea. It does freeze over, so there is ice up here, but it's open sea. So I don't know that necessarily making your way up here to open sea proves that there's a warmer climate up here. I haven't taken the time to see what the geography looked like at the time of Orson Pratt. You know, obviously the whole world wasn't still completely known. I'd say like the majority of it was, but when you come up here, you have these islands up here that are part of Canada. You have Greenland. Okay. If I was a proponent of the 10 Lost Tribes idea, I would feel like Greenland might be a good candidate for where they might be somehow, maybe in caverns or something. But I don't think that they would live in caverns. You have some Russian. I believe that these islands here belong to Russia. I don't know a whole lot about them. We do have satellite imagery. But it looks like this place has already been, explored. There's nothing here. So I don't know. I've heard people say that maybe they're in Siberia, which is like this region of Russia, or even in Alaska, which, anywhere up here, I don't know, Greenland, maybe over here, this part of Canada, because Canada is pretty, when you come up here, it's really remote. It's really remote. So, for example, I think this is Nunavut. Yeah, Nunavut. Okay, if you look at Nunavut population. So this is one of their territories in Canada. This entire territory only has a population of 38,780 people. And I think that they're natives. So that's like the size of a small city, essentially. So it's very, very remote. I don't know the extent of exploration up here. You can see that there's like these different names: Fort Ross, Cambridge Bay, so people have been up there. Let's see, there's Kugluktuk right there. And the same is true, I think, of Northwest Territories and the Yukon. They may have a little bit more people, but most of the population is kind of down here, closer to the U.S. border. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. Okay, so let's continue. So there's a tract of country around the pole, some 700 or 800 miles in diameter, that no man among the nations that we are acquainted with has ever explored. But how much of that land may be fit for habitation, I'm not prepared to say, for I do not know. I know it would be a very easy matter for the Lord, by the aid of great mountain ranges encircling them around about, to produce a band of ice which would prevent other nations and people very easily reaching them. I also know that it would be a very easy matter for the Lord God to cause deep and extensive valleys, very deep in comparison with high ranges of mountains around them, where the temperature would be comparatively mild, the same as these mountains here. We see all the rigors of an Arctic winter on our eastern ranges of mountains, while at the same time here are deep valleys in which there is a comparatively warm climate, which makes me think of that which was spoken by the mouth of Isaiah the prophet in referring to the latter-day work. He says that, quote, "When it shall hail coming down upon the forest, the city shall be low in a low place," end quote, where the climate is warm. Let me say a few more words in regard to certain things that have already taken place, predicted in the Book of Mormon by our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ when he appeared on this Western hemisphere and taught this remnant of Israel. He told them of certain events which should transpire before the remnants of Joseph should be converted. He says, "Verily, verily, I say unto you that I have other sheep which are not of this land," meaning America, "neither of the land of Jerusalem." Now, again, let's look at the map. Okay, we're going all the way back to, sometime around 33 AD. Let's not get too specific with it. So, not of this land, so not of the Americas, not of Jerusalem, which is over here, but before Islam came, before the spread of Christianity, there could have been groups over here the Pashtuns. I wouldn't be surprised. I've said this before. I've done a video about this, how the three wise men that came from the east, I wouldn't be surprised if they came from one of these lost tribes, that were still living, for some reason, not gathered back to Israel, but living over here. And maybe their prophet, or, their prophet and his, I don't know, his two helper, probably not, like, whatever. The three wise men, probably one of them was a prophet, and they came to see Christ because they were part of a believing group within the 10 lost tribes that are in this area, right? This is east. There's a lot of different ideas about the three wise men. Some think that they came from over here, the Babylonian kind of modern day Iraq area, or even Persia, but I'd say it's possible maybe they came from one of these groups. They could have come from one of these groups over here in India, for all anybody knows. So Christ, when he's talking to the Nephites, he could come over here to this group. He could come up here to these groups that may have still had their identities intact somewhat. Who knows? He could have come down to Africa, to different groups down here. So there's different options. Okay. So anyway, neither of the land of Jerusalem, neither of any parts of the land round about whither I have been to minister. For they of whom I speak are they who have not as yet heard my voice, neither have I at any time manifested myself unto them. But I've received a commandment from the Father, or of the Father, that I shall go unto them, that they shall hear my voice, and shall be numbered among my sheep, that there may be one fold and one shepherd. Therefore I go to show myself unto them." End quote. After leaving this continent, he went to the lost tribes and placed one measure of leaven in the meal that was in that country, having already planted a little leaven among the Jews at Jerusalem, and another little portion of leaven here in America. After which he goes to the lost tribes and plants leaven in the third mess of meal, and left it to work. He says, quote, "I command you that ye shall write these sayings after I am gone, that if it so be that my people at Jerusalem, they who have seen me and been with me in my ministry, do not ask the Father in my name, that they may receive a knowledge of you by the Holy Ghost, and also of the other tribes, which they know not of, that these sayings which ye shall write shall be kept, and shall be manifested unto you the Gentiles, that through the fullness of the Gentiles, the remnant of their seed, who shall be scattered forth upon the face of the earth because of their unbelief, may be brought in, or may be brought to a knowledge of me, their Redeemer. And then will I gather them in from the four quarters of the earth, and I will fulfill the covenant which the Father hath made unto all the people of the house of Israel." Okay, and then he goes on, but he doesn't really talk anymore about the 10 lost tribes. Okay, so here we go. So let's update the tracker. So he is, let's put a check mark here. In fact, let's just color this cell. Oh, it says that I've lost my connection to the internet. Whatever. I'll update it. I'm going to color code it. I'll put a green for anyone that supports the main group idea. I'll color the cell green and maybe put like an X in it. And then I'll put the location. So in this case, he thinks, I'm just going to put, oh, it won't even let me type. I'm just going to put poles. Okay. Just to be simple, I'm going to put that he believes that it's like somewhere in the polar region. Okay. And so this tracker, this is on my Google Drive associated with my Google account. So I have the link for this, so you can go and see it if you want to look around these different tabs. I have the link for this in every single video. Okay. Now, there's some people that have a hard time getting to my links, and I think what the problem is that you're using a smartphone. When you're looking at the video, okay, the description is, I'm not talking about the name of the video. There should be like a little arrow that you can click on, and then it'll basically bring up like a big kind of like a drop down menu, not a drop down menu, but an entire field where it has all my description for the video. This is where I put all my references, so you can go and check out the references. And like I said, for every video I have my email, I have the link to the tracker in case you want to check it out. Oh, I got reconnected. Okay, so let's do this. So let's color it this shade of green. Okay. And then let's put poles. Well, specifically, I'm going to do North Polar region. I'll do it like that. I'm not aware of anyone that thinks that it's in the southern, but I just want to word it like that. And then I'll color code the locations. So since it's polar, I will do like a light blue. Okay. That's pretty good. I want to make all these cells the same width, so I'll go like that. I might have to change the width of the speaker because there's going to be probably longer names that show up. But here's our first entry, okay? Orson Pratt, Gathering of Israel, the work of the Father commands, 3 Nephite apostles, never to taste of death. The 10 tribes come to Zion from the north countries. He supports the main group idea. And the location that he believes is the northern polar region, a land that's up there that could support life, that's relatively warm. Okay, so there we go. Sorry, I keep like doing these videos and not including the mission pictures that people have sent me. I get excited and then I just go. I've received a few more people's photos of their mission photos. If you have any mission photos that you would like to share, send them to me. Send it to the email in the description below. It's my.christian.homestead@gmail.com, and then I'll feature them at the beginning of the video. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure to do so. Make sure to leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it. Also make sure to share it with anyone that's interested in the 10 Lost Tribes. And I'll talk to you guys later.